Okay, welcome everyone to the Healing Embodied podcast. I am your co-host, Sarah. I am the Director of Service Delivery at Healing Embodied. And today we have a very fun special episode where I'm going to be doing a live Q&A coaching session with one of my clients, Kat, who has agreed to come on here and let us kind of peel the curtain back a bit on what we do in a session here at Healing Embodied. Hopefully this will provide some education, some insight. Hopefully it will help people just get a little bit more clarity on what the heck happens in an embodiment session. Kat and I were just talking before starting this recording that this will be a little bit more verbal potentially than some normal embodiment sessions with me might be, for the purposes of podcast recording, obviously. But like I said a couple minutes ago, it's me. So we're going to be doing a little bit of movement. So if you're listening to this on the podcast versus the YouTube channel, if there are moments where you're just hearing a lot of breathing or a lot of, yes, that's probably us moving, but I will try to describe what's happening as best I can. For context also, and then I'll pass it over to you, Kat. Kat and I have worked together quite a bit at this point. We've worked together both in group and individually. So this is by no means our first time meeting and jumping into things. We have a pretty solid relationship established at this point. She's very familiar with me, with movement, with Healing Embodied, with her own body and her own emotions. So I think that's important context to have going into this. So Kat, I'm going to pass it over to you. Feel free, jump in. Any questions you have for me, just bring them up and we'll let it unfold organically from there.
Cool. So the first question, the most pressing one in my life right now, I am preparing to move to Spain from Toronto, which is crazy. And at first it was like this really, really exciting, like adrenaline, like lots of adrenaline in my body and felt just like fun. And it still is. But now the grief is really starting to sink in that I have been living in Toronto for 10 years and I've really established a life here. And now I am leaving that life to go and start a new one, but I'm not going to be here anymore in this life with this familiarity, these routines, these people. It's going to be me, myself, and I in a new city, and the grief has really started to make its way into my day to day. So I'm noticing a lot of kind of denial. I think that this change is happening. I'm moving out of my house. I'm moving. My roommates and I are no longer going to be moving together. I'm no longer going to have my family, an hour away. It's, yeah, a lot of noticing that I'm not really processing what's happening. And then when I actually sit and I feel, ooh, like there's a blockage here, this kind of like opening has started where the grief and the heaviness has kind of infiltrate. It's starting to infiltrate now. Yeah. So I guess my question is, I don't know, just how like balancing these two polarities and really making sure that I am sitting with the grief and not ignoring this big change that's happening. Yeah. Is that questiony enough? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. Yeah. So one thing I first want to speak to is that like grief in a big transition like this is incredibly normal. When we say yes to one path in life, we are inevitably saying no to something else. In saying yes to your dream, your desire of going to Spain, which I know because I know you has been in the works and in your heart and in your soul for quite a long time. And so in saying yes to that and making that choice, you are saying no to staying in Toronto. You're saying goodbye to the life you currently have, or see you later, or goodbye for now, right? Like there is that polarity. You used that word already of like, I am leaning into this dream and desire, and that requires me to distance from a different dream or a different life that I have, a different experience that I have. And so something that I'm not necessarily hearing from you, but that I hear a lot is like fear around the grief. Why am I feeling grief about this big move? This is what I've wanted for years and years. Now I have it. Why am I sad about it? Like I should be excited. I just want to feel the joy and the excitement. And so first, just normalizing that grief is a part of life. Grief is a part of moving toward our desires. And with that, grief is evidence that you have loved, right? You grieve the depth that you have loved. You have loved your life in Toronto. You love the people you're with. You love the apartment you're in. You love the job you've created for yourself. Have there been ups and downs? Absolutely. And there's a lot of love there. And so the grief that you're feeling is evidence of the depth that you've loved. And so it's actually really courageous to feel the grief. It's courageous to let yourself love so much that it hurts. You know, like love this life so much and acknowledge that love so much that you bump into the pain of it. You bump into the like, oof, I miss this. I'm gonna miss this. I'm sad about leaving this. And I'm excited about Spain. Both things can be true. It hurts because you've loved it so deeply. Yeah.
That resonates just so much. It's a painful kind of grief. It's, every time I'm like in the studio, and for context, I teach Pilates. So every time I'm in the studio and working with clients and like with my mentor, and then saw my family for dinner 2 days ago, and it's like, oh, in a few months time, this isn't going to be accessible to me anymore. And there is a lot of fear. And I feel like a lot of the work that we've done together and that you and Chelsea do at Healing Embodied is building that self-trust. And that's been a really big theme between you and I over the last few months. But the self-trust piece, I'm noticing that self-sabotage coming in as well, and starting to have to like reconnect to that powerful part of myself. Can I trust myself to be okay without my support system here, without the comfort and familiarity of what is now home to me? Can I trust myself enough to rely on myself to find work, to find an apartment, to make friends, to take care of myself in the times where I so desperately want to just run over to my family's house and be like, can you take care of me? Feed me soup. I have to feed myself soup. So there's a lot of fear around that, and like grief around that support system. I'm almost grieving like being not a child, but there is a lot of like support here. There's a big safety net here in Toronto for me. And so even just like grieving this identity and like these connections and support safety nets that I have had here, being like, well, there's this huge catalyst. So it's like, it's more than just grief and excitement. It's like, it's fear, it's confusion, it's like, holy shit, like what is about to happen? Like this whole transformation, there's a lot going on in my body right now. And I feel like that's where the shutting down comes from, like overwhelm, right? Which we often experience when we have big emotions.
Absolutely. So, yeah, can you feel into that for a moment here? Just, it can be a dip of your toe into it. It can be a dip of your toe because you're speaking to overwhelm, right? And so, I mean, we could probably take the next 45 minutes just with this feeling in your body, right? And so we also want to, part of this self-trust thing that we're working on is also like boundaries with your emotional energy, a little bit of that trust of I can let myself feel into it a little bit, acknowledge it, notice, ooh, yeah, okay, there's sensation there. And then also bring myself back to life and reality and moving forward and functioning and doing the things that you want and need to do, right? So it can be just the tiniest dip of your toe, but just for a moment feeling into in your body, like, wow, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Yeah.
And I appreciate what you said about just like the boundaries and kind of like it is important to feel these things. And it's almost
Mhm.
like that exploration of what's my window of tolerance with this
Mhm.
feeling right now, these sensations. They're
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And you spoke to this, and I also know this pattern in you of like wanting to make sure you do things fully and like, am I feeling this fully 100% so that I can process it and move forward? And I need to feel this and I need to like let it through. And am I doing this? Am I doing it? Am I doing it right? And so actually giving yourself permission here to maybe not do it fully right in this moment, because that's impossible and would overwhelm your system so much and just push you into dysregulation. And then you're not processing anything. So actually giving yourself permission to just like taste it, a little taste test, a little like, oh, okay, a couple moments, and then we'll walk our way back up.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Mm.
So you
Yes. Mm.
and freeing too. It's kind of like, oh, cool. I don't have to dive headfirst into all of this. Like I really can tiptoe my way through the sensation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's no I feel like oftentimes with emotions, especially like grief and wanting to get through the pain,
Mm-hmm.
there's like an expected timeline
Yeah.
that we need to feel everything.
Yes.
Like that's my experience, and I imagine a lot of other people's as well.
100%. Yeah. When am I gonna feel this and be over it so that I can then like feel happy again? Yeah. Yeah. Mm. So maybe take a moment, just notice. Let's just start with present moment. Just notice what you're feeling in your body right now. You can keep the eyes open or close them if you want to. There might be a lot of stillness, there might be movement, self-touch. Just noticing what's with you right now, knowing that you have agency and choice in how you respond to that. You can see a sensation, an emotion, a thought, and say hello, and maybe not right now. And for just a moment, feeling into what does my body want to do with what it's holding, or what does my body need to hold what it's holding? You don't have to force anything. Your body might be perfectly fine to just hold it. Or it might crave some kind of external support or internal support through breath, through movement. Mm. Feeling that gentle pressure of your hands meeting your shoulder and your rib cage. I'll only be here for another moment or so. A moment to check in with the body. Notice what's there, notice what's needed. Whenever you feel ready, taking your time, whenever you feel ready, you can really gently let this movement experience start to dissolve. Start to reconnect to the external, feeling your butt on the floor. Eventually letting the eyes flutter open, taking your time with it. There's no rush. Mm. Mhm. What was that like as you just met with your body for a moment there?
Almost immediately, tears came right into my eyes, and I felt all of this energy kind of from like the center of my chest upward, like make its way into my tears in my eyes. But they kind of like they stopped there, and I just like noticed, I was like, the overwhelm built. And for just people listening, I use a lot of like the body, but I'm a visual person as well, so I always kind of like visualize things. um Lots of blue, kind of very like wispy, swirly energy um around me, and just noticing, and it was soft, it wasn't fast, but this like overwhelm was here. And you and I have worked a lot on just like grounding, kind of like through the ground into my center, into like myself, capital S. And so trying to kind of like hold, there's all this like big energy happening up here right now, and trying to stay connected to like my seat, my roots. Um, and then of course, gave myself a nice big hug, because my body was just like, whoo, I need some support right now. This is really big. This is really big. Um, just responding to natural, yeah, just like my natural kind of like need for touch, and that feeling of safety through touch. Yeah, yeah. But it
Yep.
felt good. Felt nice to be witnessed. I think
Mm,
that's my favorite part of working with you, is like feeling safe and witnessed in like my sensation.
mm.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. And I think this is something to take with you and continue exploring, giving yourself permission to do little taste testers. And, with time, maybe it grows a little bit more. That was like 3, 4 minutes of movement. Maybe it becomes 6 or 7 minutes. Maybe you do spend 30 minutes moving one day, but that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Like I go balls to the wall with grief or I do nothing. Like little moments like this really start to build that relationship with your emotions, and it starts to teach your body like we are safe, we are creating our sense of security and stability and structure and support, right? That was a piece that you spoke to of I'm leaving this external support system that I have, and in times of life where we have less external support, or maybe our external supports aren't able to support us in the way that we want them to at that time, we do rely a bit more on the internal support. And so just gently building that for yourself. It doesn't have to go from one extreme to the other of like, it's only me and I have nobody and nobody's there for me and I'm all alone. Like it can be this gentle touch points of just, I've got me. I've got me. I've still got me. I'm still here. I'm still okay. I'm safe. Whew. Like those little moments really build such a huge foundation. Yeah.
It does.
Mm,
It's the foundations. And um, I think for me, like you helped me through like a pretty significant transition. Um, and you reflected, we talked about this, but you reflected my lack of self-trust within myself. You were the container of that for me. And I told you that I wouldn't be able to be doing this move without this container and without that safety and reflection from you. So, to anybody listening or watching, this has been the most valuable work of my life. And so, invest in yourself. It's so worth it. Yeah, it's so worth it. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you. We're both sobbing over here now. Wait, great way to go, Kat.
The floodgates have been open. That's all it takes, you guys.
They have been open. Thank you for reflecting that. Thank you for reflecting that. And remembering that the love, the support, the safety of the container, it goes with you. That's here. That's not going anywhere. It doesn't only exist when we log on to Zoom and are looking at each other. It's amplified in those moments. It's like exhilarated. I don't know. It's lit on fire a little bit more in these specific containers where we're both taking the time out of our lives to sit down and be together and move together. And all the love and support that exists in the container, that's inside of you. That's inside of me. It doesn't go away when we log off. It doesn't go away when you move to Spain. It's with you. It's with you. Yeah. Mm. Oh, just love you. Just love you. Love this work. It's so good. You had mentioned earlier, you use the word self-sabotage that's coming up specifically with this move. Does that feel like something you want to explore a little bit? Is there something else present for you that you'd rather kind of shift into? Is there anything else from this little grief exploration that feels like it wants to be seen or spoken to?
Not necessarily. I do feel like the grief is kind of like I think that's something that will just continue to come up. But the self-sabotage has also been a theme that you and I have explored. It's very prevalent in my experience, and I'm noticing, just especially with this, that the self-sabotage is very loud. I was making yogurt this weekend instead of packing my house, and I don't need to make yogurt. So I'm noticing I'm like doing these little things. It's like, so these big, overwhelming transitions. And so I'm curious, and part of it is just because I imagine that a lot of other people might notice these patterns as well of like, I continue to self-sabotage, whatever it may be, whether it's your relationship continuing to kind of like hammer in on these nitpicking patterns, or, picking yourself up and taking yourself for a walk. I think self-sabotage is really prominent. And I noticed that I'm like, what is the block here? Why am I having such a hard time with getting downstairs and packing my boxes, with applying for my foreign whatever the number is, NIE? Like, what is that? There's a block there, and it's, I don't know if it's like that whole upper limit thing. I feel like perhaps, but it just like, you're like, I see it through the windows. I see it through whatever this little glass ceiling is that I've created for myself. I see where my potential is and where I want to be. And I know I can get there, but I am so stuck. I'm so stuck. Right. So maybe speaking to kind of like that stickiness, or your thoughts on that.
Totally. So when you talk about self-sabotage for yourself, you're like, can you define that a bit? Like, what do you define as self-sabotage for yourself? Or give me an example. I think you said like, knowing that I need to do this thing, pack my house, apply for this, do this thing, and yet choosing to do something else that's maybe lower priority. Does Does that match? Is there anything else you can put in there?
I think like that whole like procrastination piece of just like, wait, I really need to make yogurt actually this weekend is just kind of like, that's probably not high priority. The yogurt didn't turn out, by the way. It was such a big bummer and a sign, perhaps, like, don't do this. But also, yeah, I think like the procrastination piece and my energy, I notice really shifts and sinks down into I can't do this. This is not an experience for me. I'm not good enough for this. And I almost feel like my priorities get so out of whack. And it's one of those like, I'm working harder, not smarter type situations in an effort to try to work, like do better kind of thing. Does that kind of answer the question? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, thank you. So with self-sabotage, something that tends to be very present and that I'm hearing a lot that I'll get back to in a moment here is shame, right?
Mm.
It's a very shame-based experience. Even the word self-sabotage, like sabotage is like, ooh, okay, that's a big one, right? So when we quote self-sabotage, typically what is happening is that we are defaulting to past patterns versus the pattern we want to default to. That's all that's happening. We're defaulting to the more rehearsed pattern versus the new pattern that we're trying to implement. Sometimes there's avoidance in there. The new pattern is hard or is uncomfortable or scary, or there's uncertainty, or we don't fully trust ourselves to be able to do it. And so we default to what we know. That's all that's happening. And then society hands us this giant label that says, you self-sabotage. And then we're like, well, I suck. And that's why I can't do these things, right? Whereas it's actually you're just being a human and defaulting to the pattern that's more rehearsed. And so it's really looking at like, what are the barriers to doing the new pattern? Am I not remembering it? Is it so much discomfort or uncertainty that I'm, like you said, like bumping into the edge of my window of tolerance really quickly? And maybe I can work to expand the amount of discomfort or uncertainty that I can hold. Is there avoidance or fear of what will happen if I do the new pattern? If I go downstairs and pack these boxes or apply for this thing, is there some fear around like, well, what if I fail and find out that I really do suck? Or what if I pack these boxes and move to Spain and I hate it? You know, like, is there some kind of deep underlying fear that's present? Is it a shame story of like, well, you don't deserve this anyway, or you're probably going to fail anyway. And so why even try, right? So looking at like, what are the barriers that's preventing me from leaning into the new pattern and kind of keeping me stuck in the old pattern? That's number one, starting to like strip away, dissolve the shame a little bit, because, and you spoke to this, when the shame is there, it becomes about self-worth, right? It becomes about like a reflection on you and your worthiness as a human, your goodness as a human. Like it is a fundamental failure of mine that I chose to make yogurt versus packing boxes versus like, oh, I made yogurt instead of packing boxes, right? Like it becomes a huge reflection on you as a human, and it just gets so steeped in shame. And so that's one thing with self-sabotage, is like, let's take the shame out of it a little bit, or just gently start to peel it back or dissolve it. And instead just look at the patterns. Like, this is a pattern that's happening. This is the pattern I want to be happening. What's the barrier? What's getting in the way of doing that, right? That's number one. I'm curious if that brings anything up for you as I'm talking
I
through
think
that.
I think shame is a really big one, and I find with I'm still going to use self-sabotage, although it's a pretty gnarly term. But when you default, or when I or anybody defaults back into the habit that they want to try to shift, it just reinforces, I really do suck. You know what I mean? I really can't do this. And so I feel like shame is 1,000% there. Like I said, I was going to get up early and go for a walk or make a great breakfast, and I didn't do that. And it's a lot of like shaming. And then the cycle, I think, perpetuates, as well as like that piece about what is the barrier here. For me, I personally feel like there is, I, a big journey of mine is like finding and reclaiming my sense of self-worth and my sense of self. And I think that there's a lot of that in there is like subconsciously, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Like I'm gonna fuck this up somehow. I'm gonna whatever. I'm gonna embarrass myself. Nobody's gonna like me. This whole big dream of moving to Spain is other people's, and it's like it's not for me. Like I know that I'm not gonna get there kind of thing. And I think there is this limiting belief that I have that I can only cap myself so high, and it just continues to be, it's just perpetuated. Yeah. And avoidance is a huge one. I'm avoiding 100% avoiding responsibility, most likely out of fear and overwhelm, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so you're speaking to like multiple different kind of skills or things we could explore, right? One is like expanding the tolerance for overwhelm, and how do I actually hold more overwhelm, more discomfort in my body? Because what's happening is you're hitting the edge of what your body can hold before you're getting to the new pattern. So you're moving toward doing the new pattern. I'm going to pack the boxes or whatever. And you bump into that edge of like, whoa, that's as much as my body can hold. That's it. I've tapped out, right? And so whoom, it goes into some kind of protective mechanism, right? Because when we bump into the edge of our window of tolerance, which for listeners, your window of tolerance is all of the thoughts, emotions, sensations, experiences that you can hold and tolerate without defaulting to a fear response, fight, flight, or freeze. So once we bump into the edge and go beyond the edge of our window of tolerance, that is where the fear responses start to show up. So you're bumping into the edge before you get to the pattern. The new pattern, the thing you're wanting to do, is just outside your window of tolerance. And so you're not getting there before your body defaults to some kind of avoidance pattern. And so stretching, exploring in your body, how can I actually hold a bit more discomfort or notice when I'm at my edge and hang out with that for a bit to expand so that I can reach the new thing, the goal, whatever's right outside the window of tolerance. That's kind of one pocket here, right? Another pocket that's coming up for me is the shame piece and looking at the shame and the worthiness a bit more directly and actually bringing that shame up to the surface a bit, working with it. Because shame, it's a big thing we do here at Healing Embodied. Do you know this? Shame dissolves when it is externalized and met with compassion and love. Shame, when it is kept inside, it is so insidious. It multiplies, it grows, it takes over. It's like that horrible, annoying weed that you just can't get, like can't find and can't get to. And we just believe it. We internalize it over and over and over, and we believe it, right? Because that story in there of like, well, you do suck. You can't handle this. This isn't for you. You have this story. You do the thing. You try to pack the boxes, but you make the yogurt instead. And that voice says, see, I told you. I
Yeah.
told you. Yeah, you suck. And you say, you're right. I do. And then that's more shame. Shame does not motivate us. Shame is the worst motivator on the planet. Whereas when we bring the shame to the surface and feel into actually what it feels like to hear that voice of shame, like the actual pain or anger that's in there, feel that and start to activate a different voice, a voice that loves and cares about you, that can be like, shut the fuck up to the shame, or help walk you away from the shame or whatever it is, shame dissolves. It has no power when it's brought into the light and met with love and compassion. It cannot exist. Those things are mutually exclusive. So that was a lot of talking I just did there. That's another pocket here. So I'm going to kind of hand it back to you and ask you to just feel into, do you want to explore either of those pockets a little bit more deeply? Do you want to just take those nuggets with you and tuck them in your pocket and circle back to them at a different point? There's no right or wrong here. Just feel into what's my capacity today, what's really piquing my interest and calling to me, and let's let that guide us.
Let me feel into that for a second. I think that the most prominent in the way that you phrased it too was like shame. Shame shows up right away and says, I don't think you can do this. And you're like, okay, shame, okay. It's like, no, 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 I really don't think you can do this actually. So you're like, okay, distract yourself, whatever. And then shame is like, I told you so. And you're like, you're right. Like that dialogue resonated so strongly with me. That is the most prevalent dialogue, I think, going on within me subconsciously as well. And since doing this work a little bit more consciously. But yeah, I'm curious if like maybe exploring that for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to
Yeah, I
explore.
can see it in your face.
I'm
Elegant.
like, yeah. Uh, it is one of my favorite things to explore because it's, like I said, it's so insidious. Like it infiltrates everything until we start to bring it into the light. I love dismantling shame. It's one of my favorite things ever. So I'm excited. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to walk us through a bit of a shame exploration. Okay. This will be a slightly abridged version. So for you and for listeners, if you're like, that was speedy, it is going to be a little bit speedy. If we bump into a moment that you're like, fuck no, slow down, tell me that. Okay. And just know that we could spend an entire hour on shame, right? We're going to spend like 10 minutes on shame and just notice what you notice what comes up. Okay, I'm going to walk us through it and we're just going to move through it together. Okay. Yeah. So see if you can visualize, feel into, put yourself energetically, emotionally, mindset wise into a goal that you are trying to accomplish. Maybe it's one that you already named, packing your apartment, applying for the international, whatever it is that you need. Maybe it's something in your career. Maybe it's just this move to Spain in general. But a goal or an area of your life where you feel the shame come up. What is coming to the surface for you? What's the situation that's jumping out at you?
It's the career piece actually, which we've talked about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I really have a strong desire to build an online business, build my own business with using
Mm-hmm.
somatics and
Mm-hmm.
body, and that has been a really, 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 really tough thing for me to hold
Mm-hmm.
and pursue. And the shame voice is like probably the loudest and the strongest with that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
Quite a few things, but it's very loud. It's very loud.
Yeah. Yeah. And does the shame, when you're hearing the voice of shame in your head, is it quiet and just kind of snickers behind the scenes? Is it like loud and mean and yelling at you? Is it like laughing at you and really you think you're going to do this? Like, what does the voice of shame sound like?
The voice of shame is definitely loud and a little kind of snickery. very like there's this element of like embarrassment as well,
Mm,
to even speak to say here publicly, I really have a big dream of building an online business is like, bitch, no, you can't.
mm,
You think you are, you've tried, like you suck at it,
mm-hmm,
you never follow through, you say you're going to do all these things and blah, 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 blah.
mm-hmm,
And it just, yeah, it's like very like right away when I think about it, it is so magnified. Shame is so magnified in just like my head too, as well as in my body.
mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So if it's okay with you, I'm gonna be your shame for a moment here. I'm gonna suck it out of you, and I'm gonna be the voice of shame. Listeners, please remember that Kat and I have a very strong established relationship here, so this feels very safe to try on and practice.
Before.
Yeah, I'm gonna be your voice of shame. Okay. And all I want you to do first here is just feel how it feels to hear someone say this stuff to you, particularly someone who, quote, should and does care about you and want what's best for you. Okay. Just feel into the emotion that comes up. You don't have to force anything, you don't have to amplify anything. Just notice, like, ooh, that hurts, or wow, I'm pissed, or oh, I'm going numb. Just notice what happens emotionally. Okay. And you can choose, you can have your eyes closed, open. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Okay.
Close them.
Okay. I am now. Okay. Yeah. Come on. Really? You think that you can create your own online business? You think you can do it? You've never followed through on anything in your life. Really? You're going to start to build this business and it's just going to crumble before you because you can't do that. You can't hold that. You're going to let everybody down. You think clients are going to rely on you? Really? Come on. We've talked about this before. This is not for you. You're a behind the scenes gal. You are not a do it yourself gal. Come on. You know this. You know this. Just take a moment, feel what that's like to hear that. What do you notice? What sensations or emotions come up with that?
Like immediately without thinking about it, truly and transparently without thinking about it, my body right away, like shoulders started to round, chin
Mm,
started to tuck, like it was like every single shamey message, my shoulders rounded more, my chin rounded more, and it was like, yeah, just very
mhm,
like literally what you think when you think of somebody who feels so ashamed, right?
mhm,
Um, and I think the part that kind of actually brings up sadness for me is that that felt so true,
mhm,
which I know that it's not. Um,
mhm.
but that's how strongly that story is still within me, is that felt true to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Mhm.
So stay with that for a moment. Stay with this hunched, curling in. Just this is so true. This is true. I can't do this. And just feel the pain that that brings up just as much as your body is open to today. And I'm not having you feel into this to torture you. We're feeling into this to start tapping into that shame voice is nasty. That is nasty. But when it stays inside, all we feel is it's true. It's true. We don't actually feel the ow. That really hurts when you say that to me. That actually really hurts. I feel really embarrassed when you say that. What I want to practice now, I'm going to be your shame again. I'll give you a little warning. I'm going to be your shame again. And what I want you to feel into this time is if someone who deeply, deeply loves and cares about me and is rooting for me heard Sarah saying these things to me right now, I'm not Sarah, I'm Shane, but if they heard real life Sarah saying this to me right now, how would they respond? Maybe there's an actual person in your life that you picture. Maybe this is just generally the kind of archetype of someone who loves and cares and supports you and has your back. And I want you to practice responding like that. So maybe you flick me off. Maybe you tell me to shut the fuck up. Maybe you get up and walk away. Maybe you turn away. Maybe you cover your ears. Maybe you laugh at shame and say, okay, buddy, come on, that's enough now. Anything goes. Anything goes. It's okay if it feels super wonky and unnatural. This is just playtime. This is practice time. Okay. Okay. Kat, come on, girl. We have been over this before. I told you this is not going to work. And now you've gone and said it on a podcast that people are going to hear. What are they going to think? Really? Come on. They don't know you, but I know you. And I know that you cannot do this. You can't do this. You can try. You can try. And when you fail, I'm going to be right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Feel that. Mm-hmm. Notice that strength in your body as you're feeling into this different response. Mm. What are you noticing in your body right now?
Like a lot of um, anger
Mm.
and self-protection, like
Mm.
total, this was like very mama bear
Uh-huh.
energy. Um, yeah, like this total mama bear. Like,
Mm.
who the fuck do you think you are? Messing with
Yes.
my inner child, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of just like, I don't fucking think so. And like protecting myself. For those of you listening, I have one hand on the chest and one hand just like big, huge, stop right there, palm of just like, stay, like, you better stay back. And like a
Mm.
reminder to my inner child, like,
Mm.
I'm right, that tactile feedback of, oh, I've got you, girlfriend,
Yeah.
yeah, lots of anger and like, ugh, like just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
scream and stomp. And I felt this like my energy just growing up and over, like growing on top of the shame and like
Mm.
dominating the shame, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, big rounded arms and wide fingertips, and yeah, I'm ready to like pounce and kind of crush you, sort of thing.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, very mama bear.
Woo.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that is what we call your inner advocate. There it is. That's it. That voice that says, like, stop right there. Do not come near her. Like, you don't get to go any further. Nope, that's not happening. That's the voice we want to start strengthening when the shame comes up. And it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of repetition. It's going to be really uncomfortable for a while. Okay. It's going to be way easier to do it in here when I'm talking you through it than out there in the real world, if you will. Okay, it's going to take time. Be gentle with yourself, be patient with yourself. But that's the voice we want to start strengthening. Because before, the shame, all it did was activate the unworthiness wound and the anxiety, the fear, right? The like, you're right, I do suck. I can't do this. And then boom, shuts down, right? And then we avoid trying the thing because that voice is following us saying, you can't do this. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to fail. You can't do it. This isn't for you, right? So we want to start strengthening this other response that when that voice of shame comes up, this part, mama bear, inner advocate gets activated and says, stop. Nope. Do not come near her. Do not go near that little girl in there who's trying something new and is already terrified. Like, how dare you use a child's fear against her? How dare you do that? That's the voice we want to strengthen, and the energy we want to strengthen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's also the voice we come home to then when we try something new and it's really scary, or we do fuck up because we're humans and you're gonna screw things up if you try new things. It's part of the human condition. It's how we learn. We learn actually more through like mistakes than we do through just successes. And so that's also the voice we come home to and say, like, I tried it and it didn't go that great. I tried the yogurt and it kind of sucked. Like, it didn't taste good. And Mama Bear says, that's okay. I'm really proud of you for trying it. Let's problem solve for next time. What do we need to do differently? Right? That's the voice, not the voice that says, told you. Yeah,
Mm.
I know. I know you failed. I know that yogurt sucked. And look, you didn't even pack a box today. Today was a wash, right? That's not the voice we come home to. Yeah. Woo.
Thank you for that. It was so powerful.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, thank you.
of course. Thank you for letting our listeners and our watchers in see that. Yeah.
I'm honored. It's
Mm.
hard and it's scary, and you wonder, is this going to work for me? I just like my own experience up until we started working together. I was in therapy, talk therapy, right? Doing all the things. It's that very typical story that I would read on your testimonials. This worked for me more than 10 years of talk therapy is true. And that's what blew my mind about this work. It really is true. I'm a completely different individual. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. It's beautiful work. So thank you.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for reflecting that. Oh, just take a moment, feel into before we wrap it up for today. If there's anything else your body's craving, it might just be a wiggle, a deep breath, yeah, a little stretch. Oh, a little bit of a palate cleanser movement, just coming back home, neutralizing. Whew. Hmm. For anyone who's been listening who maybe resonates with Kat's experience or is just interested in trying out this wacky thing we do at Healing Embodied, I would encourage you to please check the show notes, or if you're watching this on YouTube, check the description of this video. I will have everything linked there of how you can work with us, how you can come into our world. If you want to work with us and have no idea how you want to work with us, amazing, incredible. I would encourage you to book a 15-minute free clarity call with Mariana. She is our client relations manager. She is a dream of a human, and she will sit with you, chat about what you're experiencing, and help you figure out what might be the best step for you. Kat, thank you so much again for letting us witness you, letting us into this world a little bit. This is a really hard thing that we try to navigate, is helping people gain more understanding of what the heck we do behind the scenes here, or what we do in these sessions without compromising confidentiality and privacy. So I'm just really, really grateful that you were courageous and vulnerable enough to let us in and let people witness you in this.
Thank you. I really hope it helps, quite honestly. I know
Hmm.
it would help me so much to see this. So for those of you watching, for those of you listening, I really hope that this kind of like opened something up for you and clarified a few things.
Hmm. Amazing.
Honored to help, honored to work with you. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.